It's one of those things that parents have to be suspicious about everything. And I know we don't like to do that, but because of where we are, I had to explain this to my own children. When I put this Life 360 app on their phone, I had to explain to them this is not for me to be nosy or try to control you. It's because of the world that we live in. I have to be able to find you. I have to give you a way out or a means to cry out in certain situations. So I have to prepare you to be safe.
The misconception is that being a gentleman is just about being polite or courteous to women. In actuality, to be a true gentleman means that you have respect for your fellow man, so it encompasses men and women. Style is something that you evolve into. It's about your personality. It's about how you live your life.
As parents, and we have these young children out there, or we're in the community and we're mentors, and we're trying to be aware, outside of the household with other people's kids and stuff like that. What are some of the things that we need to look for inside the home and outside of the home to see if these things are starting to happen? What are like the little things that are going on that you're aware of?
Is I recommend that every parent go through a human trafficking training. In fact, if you go to my Instagram, I have a link in my bio that goes to a training. It's called Safe Watch. And that training was created by survivors. And so there's some really interesting things that'll take you into the minds of teenagers or those who ended up in those situations. So right now, it's one of those things that parents have to be suspicious about everything. And I know we don't like to do that, but because of where we are, I had to explain this to my own children. When I put this Life 360 app on their phone, I had to explain to them, this is not for me to be nosy or try to control you. It's because of the world that we live in. I have to be able to find you. I have to give you a way out or a means to cry out in certain situations. So I have to prepare you to be safe. But there's so many things, of course, social media, when they're young enough, it's important to have those parameters on your computer or on their phones. I'm sorry, because right now, the worst thing that's happening during this pandemic and quarantine with children being at school is that a predator has access to your children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in order to just be proactive, this sex trafficking, human trafficking thing is not something that you have to be ready to react to. You have to be proactive. So I tell parents to have a proactive package together. You need to monitor all means of social media. You do at certain levels, you got to have a plan to know, and they have to understand that I don't care what you see on TV and I don't care what this person is doing. This is our plan for our family to protect all of us. Because what children don't understand is that you could get in a situation that could end up having us all taken out, or it's going to affect all of us. So have a good contract about social media. And then it's not, it's not one of those things. I don't suggest anybody sneak and do anything, but there's certain things that at a certain age, I'm not asking my children. And it's certain things when they get a certain age that I do train them. Like they all understand now why we have the apps on our phones and whatever stage that I'm going to take next. They're old enough for me to talk to them about it. But I'm not negotiating with a 10-year-old. I'm not negotiating with anyone under 16. I will not negotiate with at all. Now, will I come up with levels of trust? I trust to train. I train to trust. So it's going to be earned. Trust is something you earn. You can earn, you can set them up to earn while they learn. Okay. So all of those things. And this is so old fashioned now because the way the world is set up to separate our children, even in high school, they're set up to separate you. They want you to help your children. They're going to get on you when they make bad grades. They're going to call you and curse you out when they skip school. They're going to lock you up for truancy, but they got a problem when you try to check on them or make them do certain things. You have to buck the system in that. And that's something that I've always done. I buck the system and I am in my children's school. I'm bucking it right now. And I have a college student. They told me last year, well, we can't talk to you. We have to talk to him, but we can't do. I said, my child is a freshman in college. So I'm going to obey the rules or whatever you need. He's going to tell you one time that you can talk to me about anything. And that's me. So you have to buck the system when it comes to your children. Get in those schools. Know who their friends are. Know who is around your children. Know your neighbors. Know as much as you can about your neighbor. There's so many situations where the neighbors were trafficking kids right next door. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you what not to do. Don't get in your head an image of what a trafficker looks like, because a trafficker could be your pastor, he could be your bus driver, he could be anyone. He could be the businessman that you trust. Trust no one when it comes to the innocence of your child. And older women, trust, I heard a story from a woman who went on a modeling job and she was definitely set up. They put something in her drink. She had some smart acting and she got herself to the point where somebody called the police and they came. But we have to be smart nowadays. So as a parent, those are some things that I tell you. But then when a child changes. So don't take a child's change as a negative thing. I think we have to be smart about investigating what caused that change. I never forget, I had a niece and I used to take my niece's places all the time. And then this one day, one of my nieces just said, Auntie, I feel so pretty when I'm with you. And so that was an indicator to me that she was feeling.
Wait a minute, what did she say?
She said she feels pretty when she's with me. So I tell parents, key in on vulnerabilities that children express to you, because that vulnerability is the very thing that a predator or a trafficker, that's how they get the kids. That's how they lure them out of your house. They key in on their vulnerabilities. And I feel like as a parent, it is our job to address their vulnerabilities, the ones that we can. Not all of us will be able to just figure it out and help. But when your children express a vulnerability and you find them in a vulnerable situation, it's our job to address it as best we can. And sometimes that's through therapy. Sometimes that's through getting them involved with things. Sometimes that's through training them that, look, there are people out there who will play on this vulnerability. So everyone who says they love you don't. And that, I think hindsight for me, especially if I had daughters, I would raise them with a plan on how we assimilate boys and men into our house, no matter what your age is. And the way I would do that is I would pull every record and I would show them every girl that I've seen murdered by a boy. I'll show them every girl that was restored because she was stolen. Because we grow up, we teach our children to trust the pastor, we teach them to trust the teacher, but we don't teach them what it means to be inquisitive to the point that you are able to question people enough and to be aware enough that something's not right. Because a lot of times, even when intuition tries to kick in, we go against intuition because of what we're used to seeing and hearing. So we have to get our children to see and hear the right things so that they'll even question intuition or trust their intuition to be exactly what it is and not doubt it. Because a lot of times we're intuitive about a lot of things. That's an innate ability that God gives us, but we distrust it because society has taught us to trust these people, trust the bus driver. I myself, and I've never shared this out, but I myself was sexually abused by a high school coach. And because I was taught to trust that coach, I felt like I did something wrong. So I never told. I never told. So we have to, the little things that we think we're teaching our kids and making them better people, unfortunately, sometimes that is what the predator use and hold it against us. The fact that you probably trying to teach your daughter that, okay, yeah, one day you can have a Gucci bag, but right now you're going to start off with this Michael Kors or whatever they do now, or this candy bag or this Jessica Simpson bag. And then you're going to grow up. She may see that as something different. And then the trafficker comes in and say, hey, everybody got these Gucci's. Why your parents won't get you no Gucci? What's wrong? Why y'all, why can help get you that Gucci? And things like that is some of those things. Sometimes I hate to say it, that we can't combat it. And that's why I say, for the things you can't see, you can't control, and you can't be everywhere all the time, that's where technology comes in hand. That's where having a plan to teach your sons and daughters how to escape if they need to, what to do when it happens. It's okay to have trackers. The government has trackers. I need trackers on you. So that's a lot, but there's some things.
Everything you said is so important and everything. And before we got into it, what I want you to elaborate on about the stuff that happens out there, because people kind of like push it to the side because they hear the verbiage all the time and everything. You said exactly what I want you to say. I want people to know, hey, this is the rough side of the mountain, and this is what it looks like. This is the face of it. And again too, I mean, you're telling us what to do about it. You're telling us the signs to look for. You're giving us the key things. You're sending us to the right platforms in order to really get in depth and get addressed on the subject and everything. And I think it's important. And to what you just said, I have a problem with sugarcoating stuff to kids because of the very same stuff that you're elaborating on right now. Tell them what's really going on out here in the world and everything, and groom them around that and how to conduct yourself in these situations and what's going on. I don't think like my daughter, when she was like, I forgot, she was young, like 4 or 5 or something like that, when she started talking really good, she wanted to know what all the curse words were. And people are I'm not gonna tell you, like that, Man, I told her every daggone curse word there was and what it is. And then I gave her the parameters around that, of how she needs to conduct herself when she hears it, and what she's not to do to come out of her mouth. But now you know what's going on, and you know what if someone's coming at you, you know what it is. It's not foreign to you. Serious. So when you put stuff out there and you don't let these children know that, hey, that is not how it should be, and they hear it for the first time, see, that's a danger zone right there. See, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want you to talk about.
Let me ask you about, going through that and I guess going into the clubs and all of that. How did they receive you? Like, because I gotta feel like, okay, who is this lady coming in here trying to tell me what I should and should not be doing?
Listen, personally, it's not a coincidence that I had a show called Mother Funders, because I'm everyone's mother. So I went in there with my ability to nurture. I have a gift that, and I'm sort of like, what was
Baldwin.
I was saying, I'm straight to the point. I have an ability to go straight to the point with people, be able to go straight to the heart. So I was received well because of that. And then we didn't go in trying to tell them that they were wrong. We went in offering, you have to give people options to choose from. So when you show up as a resource and another option that they can add in their bag of resources, and you put it there plain, it's up to them. So the old way, the way we used to do things as Christian, is you need to stop sinning. You're doing this and you're wrong. That's that's the last thing you want to do, is try to make somebody feel less about a life that they love. That's the one thing that I learned with working with teenagers and young people. You're not going to make them feel bad about a life that they love.
Right.
That life has to make them feel bad about that life that they love. So we never went in, and I never went in under the pretense that I'm better than you, that you're so wrong for making this decision for your life. But I want you to know that there are options, that I am a resource, that if you want to transition, because at the end of the day, those women knew what was really going on. I always say this: no one comes between you and your pillow. So I ask them, when you go home at night and you put your head on your pillow, the things that you think about and the things that you say to yourself, that's what I'm talking about. You don't even have to respond to me right now. You don't even have to answer me right now, because I already know. Everybody has pillow talk, and it's that pillow talk that drives you the next day. It's that pillow talk that stresses you out at night. You can dance on this stage all night long, but when you hit that pillow and you start talking to yourself and your mind play back your day, I want you to think about Carla. I want you to think about the resources I brought into this club. I want you to see that I brought options. And one thing that I want you to know when I leave this club is that you now have an additional option. You have someone who wants to help you do what it is that you really want to do. Because as crazy as it sounds, not everyone, now some people do, not everyone woke up and said, hey mom, one day I want to strip in a club where I'm going to turn into an alcoholic or a drug addict. And I would tell, when I was there, I can't tell you what's there now, when I was there, 85% of the women there had some type of substance abuse because they needed it just to stay in the club. And honestly, that's one of the things that we see in survivors, because that trafficker, of course, they're going to get them addicted on stuff so they can control them. So that's how I went in there. That's how I live my life. You know, I am a giver. And I never forget, it's so funny, we're not talking about reality TV, but I remember when I did my audition for the Housewives, and they asked me, because at the time they knew I was a pastor's wife. I had been a pastor's wife. And so they said, if you came on the show as an advisor, they asked me, how would I advise each of the ladies that was on the show? And I just laughed so hard. And I told them, I said, you already know, if you bring me to this show, I'm already everybody's mama, and I don't play. And so I'm going to tell them like it is. I'm going to spit the truth. And if they're wrong, they're wrong. And they love that about me, because that's who I am. I have a way of healing, you know, I have a way of healing people. I don't want to call it with a nice, nasty, but I have a nice, nasty way. Well, you know, people say the truth hurts, but truth is an asset. It's a powerful weapon when it's yielded and used by people who know how to use it. Because some people say, well, that's just the truth. I am who I am. The truth is the truth.
But sometimes that's a lie. But go ahead.
Truth has to be swallowed. Truth has to be received. And how you give it oftentimes reflects how it's received, regardless of how I'm just real. I'm just telling, I hate when people say I'm just real sometimes. I'm just telling the truth. Well, there are facilitators that are better at facilitating the truth than others. And I believe that I'm one of those. And so I have a great success rate when I'm mentoring, which I don't do a lot of lately, but I get people asking me to do it all the time. But I have to say, I'm selfish in the fact that I know how much is required to raise healthy men, and I'm committed to give them all of that more. And, you know, I'm committed to that.
So with human trafficking, to kind of, I don't want to say wrap it up with that, but what resources, I guess, for people in the area, if, you know, this not in the clubs, but, you know, they find a young lady or a young boy, they know they're in trouble, they need help, where should they go? What, you know?
I'm going to tell you the first thing, always call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, okay, which is 1-888-373-7888, and also 911. You know, there are commissions right here in Atlanta and on the police force that are set up to just respond to human trafficking. So 911. And that's the thing that I want people to get used to in our community. Throw out the word snitch, because here's some more signs that I did want to get to. If you live in a neighborhood and it's 5 or 6 women all the time going in and out of that house, call the police, dial 911 for a well check to go in there and make sure that those girls want to be there. A lot of the cases that have happened or been busted lately, people saw the women going in and out of that house. And not only the women, they saw the men going. And they didn't say anything until those girls had been there. You know, we got to throw snitching out. You know, even this is one of the signs you look for. Even, and it's not always true, but if you're out in a nightclub or somewhere and a car rolls up, a limousine, 5, 6, 7 ladies get out, you need to watch the crew and look for that girl that seems timid, or look for the one that you can tell she's a little controlled or awkward, because a lot of those situations, listen, and if you're going, I don't know if this is an air before the Super Bowl, you really have to have your eyes open, because the Super Bowl is a huge, not just the Super Bowl, but big events like that in concert, they draw traffickers because they know that they're going to be buyers. So they have to be there as sellers. There are people going on sites right now setting up dates, and so we have to be careful. So resources. So right now, there are people who have been in the fight long before I have. So the first thing I tell people to do is look into your local community for organizations that are in the fight against human trafficking. But not only that, they're providing services to survivors. Resources. And so check your local community. I know here in Atlanta, of course, Wellspring Living is a huge organization, Youth Spark. It's several organizations, but if you check with your local community and government and see, they will have a list of them. Just nationwide, I have found to be great resources for training and information. Polaris and Homeland. Homeland Security has on its website a training. It'll train you. It has training for teachers, policemen, just individuals. You can go out there and check that out. Polaris has the same thing. There's so many organizations popping up. And then I myself am working. I just launched, it's soft launch, and I'm working on a huge launch of my own. It's a nonprofit organization, but it's based on fundraising and awareness for human trafficking and the few other causes that I'm focused on. And I started an initiative called Stop Trafficking Mission Funding. And on there is information and that you can connect to other organizations that can train you. I'm actually working on making my site a source of training where I can cause awareness and help people with awareness. Right now, I've been focusing on fundraising because one of the, I'm not going to say sadness, because there's a lot of sad things about sex trafficking and human trafficking. But another thing that sparked me here lately is when I found out that over 80% human trafficking survivors are re-victimized. It really touched my heart. And the reason why they're re-victimized is kind of like the same reason why prisoners are re-victimized when they come out of the system, is because there's not enough help for the survivors. Once they go through the programs and the programs has spent the money on them and they've reformed them, a lot of them end up being re-victimized because there aren't additional services that are prolonged enough to get them the help that they need. And I've been working with a few people now, and this is another area, because not only are survivors re-victimized, there are a lot of survivors who return traffickers because of their victimization, and then they got charged as traffickers. And now some of them are in prison. I know a few that are fighting to get clemency because the system raped them and never helped them get out of trafficking. And then they punished them when they grew up in the system and were somewhat forced to be traffickers by their trafficker. So it's so many elements to what's happening right now. But most importantly, you can do the most if you find a local organization in your state. Always check with your local churches. A lot of them, if they're not doing anything, they have connections to organizations that they support, and see, because in fact, that's how I got connected with Wellspring Living organization. They were connected to the church I was attending. So check there. And Wellspring Living is a good organization. There's another one that works specifically with survivors that I lean towards now, is safehouseproject.org. They are a great resource. In fact, the training that's on my Instagram is a training that they created called Safe Watch that will train you about the signs of human trafficking. And I just did a powerful panel on January the 11th is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. And I was so fortunate or so blessed to be asked by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce out of Washington to moderate, to be their panel on human trafficking on that day. And it was amazing. I was on the panel with, I think it's Nikki Clifton. She is the president of the UPS Global Foundation, and they're set up to fight human trafficking. Ashley Chapman, and she's the founder and CEO of Altus and president and CEO of AFRJ. And let me get that acronym because it's long. Oh, Lord, I don't even see it in here. But their organization has tremendous program. And one of the programs that they have is called Engage Together. And it's their program Engage Together, where you can go and you can train and you can learn and get active to help them. One of the biggest needs right now is for individuals and companies and corporations to get involved in the fight for by changing their policies and their procedures. Because one of the things that USpark did a study, one of the things that they found out that most of the sex and the trafficking was bought between noon and 3 o'clock, which means that there's a greater chance that there's a person at your job working for you right now using your company equipment to book sex for their lunch break and going out and having sex with a young victim. So they are advocating and implementing policies against making stiff penalties for you if they find out that you use the company's equipment to book sex or to do anything like that. So I love their organization because it's going to take the entire village to really get to what is considered a hidden crime. Because if we can stop them where they are, then, if we can stop the buyers, you won't need a supply. So there are quite a few organizations doing a lot of things. So I just encourage everyone to research, reach out to, and the reason why I say local, because those local organizations, they need the funds and they need you to get involved if you have a business. But more than anything too, they do need volunteers sometimes, volunteers to do so many things. So if it's a local organization, you can schedule once or twice a month that you can actually go there and help them. So I always say a local organization that you can tangibly get involved. And then there are national campaigns, like the campaigns that I try and do them so that anyone can get involved by reposting or donating or, buying a t-shirt, just little micro ways that we can do a big thing.
You are absolutely amazing. I'll say that. Let me first say that with everything that you do on that level, because a lot of times we do hear about all these things and it's so daunting. It seems so big. You don't know where to start or what to do if you want to do something. So I definitely applaud you for what you've done and what you're doing. Do you have anything coming up? I know with the pandemic, it makes it harder to put things together and get involved, together, but do you have anything coming up, panels or anything like that regarding human trafficking that people can get involved with or check you out on? Or
right now, what's really important to me, because I'm still in a campaign that I launched for National Human Trafficking Awareness Month, on my website, Stop Trafficking Mission Funding is www.stmlcs.com. And you can find it if you follow me on Instagram, you can click the link in my bio and find it. I collaborated with a celebrity artist, Painkiller Cam. He is amazing. And he created a beautiful piece of artwork. We worked together. We wanted to have the colors that represent trafficking. He created a piece that we call "We Must Protect Our Children." It's a beautiful piece of artwork with this mother like protecting a bunch of children. And so I had that created for my campaign, and not only did I have the artwork, we turned it into a t-shirt. So I am actually selling those t-shirts now on my site, and the profits from those t-shirts will go towards survivors and to organizations that specifically work towards survivors. I did this campaign to help those organizations because a lot of time they see the least amount of money first. So I wanted to start focusing certain things towards that. And so that's actually happening now. They can go out there and they can click the link and buy that t-shirt and know that that's a twice sown seed. You get the t-shirt and a survivor will get that cash to help them. And so that's important. I didn't check. I started my auction, but I don't even know if we met our goal on the auction. So I may rerun the auction. And so if you follow me on that, you'll see, because I still have this beautiful piece of artwork that he created, and it's gorgeous. You know, it's really, really gorgeous. I won't be mad if I end up with it, but I really would love for someone else to, you know, sow the seed and, you know, spread the word and put that piece of artwork in their home and let it be a reminder that we must protect our children. So I would love for everyone to visit me there and just follow. If you subscribe, everything that I'm going to do, you'll find out, because you'll start getting the emails. I don't send out 100 emails because this is something that I'm doing. But remember, I set everything in accordance with my overall purpose. And right now, my sons and my business and what I do in the world, they circulate. So I don't overdo any one thing. So you won't get bombarded with, you know, emails. But when I do send it out, please know that it's pretty important.
Good stuff. So what's the next big thing for Carla Stephens?
So you know what? I'm in that phase of my life. So for me, everything is a big thing. I can't tell you what age I stopped going to the next big thing, because I am the big thing. I have to tell you that
All right.
the
All
gag
right.
is, I am the big thing. Okay. So what is happening in my scope is I'm definitely elevating all areas of my life, including my trucking companies. My children are of an age now that I can add back in some of the things that we took away, just so we both can have good schedules with them. Now that one's in college and I have one more that's going to be in college, that level where if my children want to be in the family business, they can. If not, we can sell it on the market. So that's what we're spending a lot of time doing with that, you know, making sure that we definitely have a marketable business, that it could sell on the market if we wanted it to. And also, I'm actually, you know, me being on television sparked something that I was doing the entire time, but I just didn't know that I wanted to write or even be a personality or actress on TV. So I'm actually working on a few projects, you know, right now that I'm real hush-hush about, because after being on reality TV, it takes you a while to learn to hold your mouth. And you know, after so many years now, I know now not to talk too much about what you're doing until it's done. But just know that I am behind the scenes, you know, working like everyone else. It just takes time. Things are being developed. People ask me, would you ever go on reality TV again? Of course I'll go on reality TV again, because I'm a woman that knows what to do with a platform. So for sure. In terms of what that would be, I have some ideas of what that will be and what it would look like, to have that platform. I'm definitely working on more EP things where I'll be an executive producer. So that's my goal now, to have that next show where I actually come out the gate as an executive producer versus a consultant producer. So that's in the work. And I mentioned it before, I'm launching a nonprofit. I've had nonprofits before. I got away from it because I just felt like this is all I want to give. But now in where I am in my life now, I see a lane in which I can be productive and still do the things that I mean, it needed to be a nonprofit myself, because where I am in my life now is something about getting to the people who need it or need your gift or need your money, that are really going to use it and take advantage of the fact and appreciate the fact that they have you. So I decided to go ahead and launch my own nonprofit. So while I'm helping others, I can have a clear picture of the money train and the results of what my efforts are doing. So I'm launching Rockstar fundraising here, where my whole goal is to help those that are helpless, to help those that cannot help themselves. And yes, that is sex trafficking survivors. You know, my goal is to do a work in the trans community with the transgender women and men. You know, I have a lot of things that I'm working. And, you know, of course, always be the best wife and the best mom that I can be, and friend and sister and auntie. and to, just continue to contribute to my community and contribute to the world. That's just all I've ever wanted, to just be that productive person that can contribute in a positive, good way, to society as a whole.
Well, if you ever need any handsome black men on any of these reality shows that you're producing or anything like that, there's two that would be pleasantly entertained by that, just putting it out there for you.
You know what? I definitely actually pitched a show with men in it. And I never forget, this was years ago, so I know things are coming around. And I never forget what I was told back then. They weren't looking at men for reality shows like that. That's why you see a lot of the ensembles are women and the men came on second. But I noticed that that's changing. The men are coming out more, and it's about, so I believe that there is a need for it now, and that there's a space for it. Because, just like the dynamics of what we see when you bring a group of women together, there are many dynamics that we can see when we bring a group of men together, not necessarily just as husbands, there to support their wives, but as the leaders in that. So, I have a few things working. I would definitely keep you guys in mind. I mean, what you're doing here is needed to see. You can't turn on your TV now and just see two African American gentlemen discussing the things that you guys are discussing. So, thank you for your platform and the realness. I think there's a need for what you are doing, because people need, there's so much that happened to, delegitimize the media, or, media personalities, or interview people. And the realness in which you both come, I think, is definitely needed. So, as you guys zone in your vision for what you're doing, it's really about packaging, because the realness of what you all bring, and the realness of who you are, I think will resonate in a lot of places.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, because that was the reason why we did this show. Like you were talking about helping. Our thought process was to help by disseminating information, to bring people such as yourself on our platform, on our show, with who we are. The suits and what we do, that is who we are. We don't get dressed up. We were doing this before we had a show. So it was just natural for us to carry it over to the show. So we wanted to do something to show that, African-American men, black men are not just, the guys that have the jeans, the Timbs and the big coats or the trendy suit. I mean, the trendy, sweatsuits and all of that. At the crux, I grew up in the church, having to go to church on Sundays in a suit. That wasn't even you didn't get no break from that. That's what you're gonna wear. Put that on. Let's go to church. So that's kind of something that's always, I could have gotten away from it, but it was something that was always in me, and I didn't mind it. I feel like when I'm wearing a suit, I'm comfortable. But don't get it twisted. I'll go put a pair of sweats on. I'm just as comfortable. So as men, we have to have that versatility within our life. And so when we decided to do this show, it was really about, let's bring people together and start to connect our own hub. So as we bring people on here, such as yourself and other people that we've had, we kind of consider ourselves a hub, because people who need something that may not ready. I mean, you may be accessible for some and not for others. But if they reach out to us and say, the lady that you had on the show, she was wonderful, and she was talking about this, I need to find out about this, that, and the other. Well, we can reach out to you and say, well, we have someone that, wants to talk to you about this, that, or the other. How do you want to handle it? We can send them your information, or where do you want us to send them to? But we want to put this together so we start to build this hub of people with information, good, bad, the ugly, but we all stay connected and stop being so, because we get to the point where we get to a level where we've made it and everything feels good and we can buy whatever we want. We shut down from the people who haven't made it, so to speak. So there are people out there trying to do it. They don't want your handout. They want an opportunity. So our goal is to make sure that we give people opportunities here. If you got a good story or you're doing something positive, we want to give you that opportunity to talk about it, because your next big thing may come from this conversation, or we connect you with someone else that can do it. We're all about sharing information on this show, and you have given us a wealth of information for people to take into their homes and utilize it. Because at the end of the day, you're right. Nobody, my daughter's 23, so nobody's really immune to this out here. If they try to snatch your kids, you need to be prepared to know what to do and how to get in the fight to make sure it's not happening, being proactive. So when once I saw your information, I was like, this is some good stuff. This would be a great interview because we haven't done anything on human trafficking before. We've done domestic violence, we've done mental health, but we hadn't done anything like this before. So I'm really glad that you were able to do it. This was a great interview. I've learned a lot, and you came on looking, stunning. So that helps as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and just giving me the platform to talk about it. It's one of those things, once you've sat in a room with a survivor and you hear their stories, and I've had a few moments that were traumatic to me. One of my trainings was in the room with the pimp and an ex-trafficker, and he shared the story of how the process, and from the first time that they get a young girl and they put her through what they call breaking. And when he described what breaking is and how they take them into a hotel room that's got 3 or 4 guys in it, and they're all have to have sex with her, and then they let her know that if she says anything or does anything, that we know where your parents live and we're going to go kill them. They literally break the victim. They break them to the point that they go into submission, once they get them to that, once they've lured them away. And just going through that training with him and hearing him talk, and how a pair of shoes can get the child that you think out the door. I knew I wanted to do something, it was just, that was one of those traumatic moments to me. And hearing about the 9-year-old in the hotel when they found her still wearing Mickey Mouse panties because she's a girl. So we need to hear that, children are being broken, and they're not, particularly our girls and boys, they're not fast little girls. They're not hot little girls. You see a girl out there on the streets and she dressed half naked, don't assume she being fast. And then it's cold and you're thinking, why she out here? Because she's out there because she has to make some money.
Yeah.
I just want people to think twice and don't look at our children as misfits, that they're being disobedient, just acting up. No, next time you see a little girl out there at night, question it, report her. Because even if she's not out there with the trafficker, if she keeps staying out there, someone will find her on those. But look for new tattoos on your children. Look for little bracelets that they didn't have, little trinkets, because oftentimes traffickers mark their property, and they mark it sometimes with bracelets and tattoos that'll be obvious so that other traffickers and people can see who they belong to. So look for those types of things. If your child drives, always look at her car and see if there's any kind of markings in dust that was written, because a lot of times that can mean someone watching her and they've already labeled her car. So, there are just a lot of things. I just say, get out there, learn everything that you can. No one's asking you to give up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're just asking you to use something that's always with you, and that's your eyes and your ears and your mouth.
And your phone.
And your phone, that's right.
Well, once again, it's a pleasure, having you here. I think we've gained value, by the conversation that you have. A lot of times when you talk to people, they try to hold back because they don't want to talk. They don't want to share, and that's one of the things that we find that is very important, is to, say the hard things,
Yes.
say the ugly things.
Yes.
In conjunction with, share the deep stuff that is going to bring, like, high volatility in a positive way. We want to hear that type of stuff too. You know, don't keep it to yourself. We don't want the crab in the bucket mentality. We said it over and over again. We don't want that. You know, each one teach one. You know, we feel that it's very important to have that. And you've done all of that and then some today. And we would like to, you know, deeply think. I think, you know, I hold a whole lot of what you said close to my heart, and I'm better for it, and I'm sure Creature's better for it as well. And you know, keep doing, you know, everything that you're doing out there. Now I'm thinking, you know, I need to look at some other stuff, you know, now based off the conversation that we've had this evening. But with that being said, this has been a wonderful show. Thank you for coming. And you know, like we always like to say, you know, there's no excuse for good taste because Carla Stephens believes in better. Until next time.
Yes, indeed. Yes.